Welcome to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast, a show for women entrepreneurs who want to build, grow, and lead successful businesses and high-performing teams. I'm your host, Lindsay White, leadership coach and people strategy expert, here to bring you unplugged conversations with a variety of amazing guests who share expert advice and real actionable people strategies for your growing business. Ready to get unplugged? Let's jump in. I have Renée Hughes with me here today on the show. She is the visionary co-founder of the Seven Figure Profit, a pioneering advisory firm dedicated to guiding entrepreneurs who find themselves caught in the paradox of high revenue, but low satisfaction. Listen, I think there's a lot of us can relate to that. What Renee defines as being seven-figure poor, and we're going to get into that term because this is all about, when you get into that really productive, beautiful business, but struggle with insufficient profit, limited time, real freedom struggles. And I think so many of us can identify with that. Renee, I'm super excited to have you here on the show today to share with us your journey. And we're going to talk through some of these issues that we get into as our business approaches seven figures. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm real excited to be here. Thank you so much.
So am I. And Renee and I have we finally had to hit the record button because we've been chatting before we hit the record button for like 20 minutes,
For a while.
having such a great conversation this morning. And I love that. I love when we can just hit record and just keep on talking.
Keep
So,
talking.
yeah.
Mhm.
Renee, I mean, I've read your bio. I kind of know the backstory, but share with us your journey as a female founder and what you've learned along the way.
Yeah, I learned so many things. I've had several different iterations
Yeah.
of my business, as a lot of us do. Our journey kind of takes its shape as it goes along. And I think one of the main things that I learned that I wish I had known when I started was to begin with the end in mind. This is something I tell my clients all the time.
Yeah.
I wish I had had more of a plan and a structure of where I wanted to be when it was all said and done. You know,
Yes.
when I
Yeah.
was ready to sell, when I was ready to retire, when maybe for whatever other reasons came up about that I had to stop working.
Mhm.
What was the legacy? Right.
I love that
And
word.
that's how I work now. But I think that that was something that I was missing in the beginning, and it kind of contributed to me kind of being in a lot of different spaces that really were not the right fit for me. And I do think sometimes it's just part of the journey.
Yeah,
You
100%.
feel a drive and a pull towards one thing, and then the next thing you feel a pull towards something else. But when you have that clear vision, and I'm a creative, and we work with creatives,
Yeah, yeah.
and we have that mindset, like we're very emotional, and
Yeah,
we're just pulled in different directions, right?
yeah,
So having that game plan, that mindset of, yeah, I love all these things, but that's where I want to be when it's all over. It
yeah.
really helps to navigate the ride.
You know what? I actually think a lot of us get caught in that trap. Like I don't think I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of us really, we're just first of all, we exit often corporate roles, right? For
Yes.
many of us,
Mhm.
that's where we start, and we exit. We're so excited to exit and start our own
Mhm.
thing that actually, yeah, we kind of forget to put the spot on the map of where we would like to actually end up. And let's
Right.
be clear, ladies, nobody's holding you to that. Like, it's not like you're
Right.
carving it in stone, but
Exactly.
just, the legacy, like, what do you want to leave behind?
Mhm.
How do you want to exit, whether it's the business or the world in general? I love that. I think that
Mhm.
that's a beautiful thing to think about. So
Yeah.
I'm curious about this seven figure profit. This,
Mhm.
how did you land there?
Oh, so good story. So seven figure profits came about from a merger, actually, from my husband's business and mine. So we both are founders of our own business, and mine is the aroma specialist, and I'm really focused on working with holistic professionals. And he's a CPA, and so he always worked on the financial side. But we
Mhm.
both ended up with clients who are creatives. He works with a lot of celebrities, actors, musicians, and that
Okay.
just once you kind of have a niche, that's who you end up working with. And on my side, of course, a lot of holistic folks. Um, And over time, what we realized is that we were so tired. As you
Yeah.
start to approach that mark, that, coveted mark, you feel, depending on how you've built, you can feel really exhausted.
Yep.
And that's what was happening to us. We were tired, our teams were exhausted, and it's like, okay, burnout, 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 we got to do something different.
Yeah.
So we decided to kind of take a step back and take a look at what are our strengths. And we did that map. Where are you going?
Yeah.
What's the ultimate?
Yeah.
Let's start back up a little bit and begin with the end in mind. And then we read this book called 10X is Easier Than 2X. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Absolutely.
that book. I love that book. And so we were like, you know what? We can do something drastic and that hasn't been done before and feels like it can't be done. Merging a financial firm with a holistic firm. Now, how in the world is that going to work? We're like that. So many people we talk to, they're like, that's not going to work because finance holistic. But it was so great. So what we ended up doing is really taking a look at our strengths. What are we really doing for folks? And
Mm,
I started to lean into my psychology side. I'm a certified
mm.
aroma psychologist. When I started, I was working more on the mindset piece, and
Yeah.
then it grew into me being more of a business coach. But I said, my big thing is psychology. It
Yeah.
really is the psychology. This is how I'm helping people. And we came up with profit psychology meets profit planning.
Yeah.
So he handles the planning and the numbers and all that stuff that don't have a clue about. I handle the psychology
Which
and the
he probably has no
communication,
clue about.
which he
Yeah.
has no clue about. And it just makes a beautiful merger for our clients. And that's how Seven Figure Profits came about because our
Mm,
goal is to help people to be profitable beyond the numbers.
I love
We
that.
help you get your numbers right for sure.
Yeah.
But this whole burnout, exhaustion, working with the wrong team, going in the wrong
Yep.
direction, all these things, we help to bring all that together. So when you do hit that, not all of our clients have hit the seven figure mark, but even when you're on your way there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you probably, it's like a lot of you out there, you haven't reached it, but you're in the high six figures
Yeah.
and you are feeling it already.
Yeah.
You feel it. You feel
Yeah.
that burnout coming, and there's a better way to do it so that you and your team can actually enjoy the ride. And when you reach wherever you're reaching, not everybody even wants to reach there, but wherever you're going, you can get there with something in your bank account.
Yeah. Well,
Because
and not just your account at the bank, but your
yes,
account with yourself. Like
absolutely.
that I think is the key, right? Like money is not a
Mm,
value, it's just a metric. Let me
it's
say that
just a
again.
resource.
Money is not a value, it's just a metric.
Hmm.
It's only one metric.
It's just one.
Problem is we put too much emphasis on how much money and not enough emphasis on how much fulfillment. And that's what ends up
Absolutely.
happening. We build a seven-figure
Mhm.
business and we hate our life.
And you hate your life. You don't have a life. You don't
You don't have a
recognize
life.
it.
You don't have a life to hate it. Yeah.
You don't remember date night, you don't remember your children,
No.
you don't remember your parents. I
Yeah.
mean, no, that's not what we get into business for.
No. No.
So
You
you
know
want it to be
what?
satisfying.
Oh my God, that's so true. That is not why we start these things.
Why we started. Mhm.
Okay, so I just want to say I really love that you and your husband went right back to, and I preach on this all the time. What do we care about the most? What's really significant to us? What are our values? What's our purpose? What are you doing here on this rock? What are
Mhm.
you meant to contribute to the world? That's legacy, right?
That's
And
it.
then what do we both love doing? What do we do really well? How do our skill sets fit together? Let's find a way to do something that's cool and new and interesting and actually something that everybody said we probably shouldn't do, but we're going to do it anyway.
We're gonna do it anyway.
Damn the torpedoes, as my mother says, right? Like, let's just figure it. But I love that you kind of dialed it all the way back to
Mhm,
what's the most important stuff and what, like, to me and to us. And then let's build something from there because that's a meaningful business. That's a meaningful practice.
mhm.
I love
100%.
that.
100%. It's everything. And the relief that you feel, and we feel it across the board. Our team feels it. We really are in this thing of giving up a lot of stuff. You and I were just talking about this
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
giving up a lot of stuff that we're not even good at anyway,
Yeah.
and focusing on the percentage of the things that we do really well
Yeah.
and that we enjoy. And
Yeah.
what happens is the business blossoms, your life blossoms, and you can breathe and just enjoy,
Yeah.
wherever it takes you.
100%.
Hmm.
Well, and okay, so I want to get into that with you because I mean, this is my mission is to
Hmm.
help entrepreneurs who are at that inflection point when they are feeling the burn, as I like to say. Business is growing, things are taking off, clients are coming. Some of it you've planned for, like you've very much built the business strategy to do that, but maybe some of it's happening very organically
Hmm.
and the business is growing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're feeling the pressure and the pain of
Yes.
that. And
Hmm.
so let's talk about, like, how do you then build that team? Because you clearly were very intentional about how you built your team. What did that look like?
So intentional about it. And what happened is, and this is the for those of you who already have people working for you, two things. We had to scale back, which means we had to have some really hard conversations
Yeah,
with each other and the management level of our team, because there were team members who just were not showing up and they weren't part of that vision. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
we had to be honest with ourselves about what positions do we really need at this point.
yeah,
We were working with way too many people, and the life and business was just getting away from us.
yeah, 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 yeah,
It's just getting away from you. So it's just like, let's close ranks. Who wants to be here? Who shares our vision? Who has the skill that we don't have, loves doing it, is good at it, and is going to take it and grow
yeah,
with it? And
yeah,
so we just did some investigating of who we needed to keep, who we needed to invite to be successful elsewhere, and who we needed to keep but train, who we
yeah,
needed to keep but put in a different position,
yeah,
and who we needed to bring in.
yeah,
And so that's what we did. We had those conversations. We took a look at those skill sets. And like you said, by scaling all the way back and taking a look at what was really needed, what were we spending too much time on that really somebody
yeah,
else should be doing?
yeah,
What about
yeah,
our office manager, and the
yeah,
managing director? What are they spending too
yeah,
much time on that they should be given to someone else?
yeah.
And it just allowed each person to be in their space that they could excel in
Yes,
and yet still be a team. But
100%.
not so much, I'm over here, I'm over here. For years, those of us who have been around a while, we know that multitasking has always been like, this is what women do. We multitask,
Yeah,
right? But it's not really the most efficient way to do things.
no,
We don't really
uh,
need to be having our hand in every bucket. It
no,
really causes the adrenals to go crazy,
yeah,
which is the seat of burnout.
yeah,
And so we getting comfortable of slowing down and saying, look, this is what really needs to be done. And we just work with our clients, I mean, our team very differently, where um, and we work with all contractors, by the way, but
yeah,
we've just created a family out of it.
yeah,
And we don't micromanage. We say, this is the goal. Here are what tools do you need?
yeah,
Um, what do we need to do to be supportive?
yeah.
And they go get it done.
I honestly, I just, you guys can't see me because this is an audio podcast, but I'm just nodding, nodding. Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. I mean, Renee, what you're talking about, I mean, this is why you and we connect so beautifully. It's all about a strategic approach to your team and your talent. And that you articulated how to do that so beautifully. It is really about actually stepping out of the business. It is about actually looking at the organization strategically from that 50,000-foot view and really understanding how do we connect the talented people we have with the business plan and ultimately the vision that we're trying to create. The business plan just makes the vision practical. That's all it does.
Yeah.
How do we get the right people in the right places doing the right things at the right time so that we can execute on the goals that accomplish the plan? That's what it is at the simple. And you talked through that
But
so beautifully. But the key in all of that for what I heard, you have to actually pause. You have to take some time. You have to do some reflection. You have to create the plan. And then, yes, you have to lead. You have to lead. You have to
that's
show
it.
up. You have to have difficult conversations with people. You do it with kindness and love.
That's it.
Kindness and love, because that's who Renee is. And then you get the right people in their lane, and then they just go for it. You give them the tools, you give them some training, you upskill. You got to grow the talent, you got to buy the talent. What do you got to do to get the
Mhm.
right talent in the right places, doing the right things? I am obsessed with the way you articulated that. I'm so glad we're recording this. I am totally playing that back. This is key. Everyone
Yeah.
who is in that inflection point, you got to have a people strategy. Because, like you said,
Mhm.
you get people doing all sorts of stuff all over the place. You don't even know what's going on anymore when you get to that point.
You just lost. Yeah,
You can't
it's
keep
true.
track of all the things. There's too many things. Too many things.
Yeah, it gets away from you. I think too that people are get afraid, I think, when they get to that inflection point, which makes what you do so important because don't be afraid of it. Have those
Yeah.
conversations and go, our entire merger, which was huge and it was just so
Yeah.
different. We did it in 8 months.
Oh, look at
We
that.
did it in 8 months. It was
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
It was intense, but it can be done, and you don't have to be afraid of it. I think that people, especially people who really change for some personality types, change is just is
Oh,
so
yeah.
hard. It's like
So hard.
emotional punching bag. Like they feel like
Yeah.
they're in a wrestling match. But the reward of allowing yourself to pivot and allowing yourself to get through that inflection point is so profound, and every cell in your body will thank you.
Spoken like somebody who's lived all the way through it. I love it though. I
Yes.
love it. So this is the important part about this conversation is we need to know that there's someone on the other side who is actually truly enjoying their business and their life because they leaned into the discomfort. They led through the discomfort because I mean seriously Renee, the leadership here is remarkable. But they led through the discomfort. They really leaned all the way in because they knew the vision was important. They knew the values were important. They knew that it needed to shift and change in order to grow and flourish. That's what we want. I mean, we don't get into these businesses because we want to burn them to the ground. We build the dang things because we want the business to be successful. We want to be successful. We want to create a space for people to come and work and be successful. I mean, that's the other thing. You didn't say that, but I certainly picked that up.
Mhm.
You want people to work for you and feel great about the work they do.
Absolutely.
That's a fabulous culture.
Mhm.
I think we all want to do that. We don't want people to come to be to work and be like, damn that Renee, she is such a jerk. I hate her. Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that, and nobody wants I remember saying to somebody, "We don't want someone who's just here for the paycheck. You could
Mm-mm.
be working anywhere. You can be working anywhere, so
Go work
go
at
do that."
Walmart. Go work at
Yeah,
Walmart, get your paycheck, go home. That's cool.
absolutely,
Do that.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm,
Yeah, we want people in our business, you said it, that
mhm,
actually understand and really buy into that vision. They get it.
mhm.
It's
Yeah,
aligned. It's
mhm.
aligned. And I think that makes all the difference because when you have happy people, they make your customers happy. And when you have
They
happy
they do.
customers, they bring you more of their money and they bring you more customers. And that's what drives the revenue and the success in your business. And it's just a
Mhm.
cycle. So you just keep
It
people
is.
happy, they keep your clients happy, more clients, woohoo, more money.
That's it.
Yes, right?
And without more clients, without feeling like it's a pull, I've gotta get
Yes.
it becomes a flow,
Yes.
and that's what you want.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Okay, so now I want to ask you about how do you, now you've merged the business, it's building beautifully. How
Mhm,
are you nurturing that culture in your organization, that culture of performance? Because I know you expect excellence. That's who you are. So I know you
mhm,
expect that from your team, but
mhm.
also this space of we're in this together. We do great work, we deliver, we have fun. Like, how do you nurture that? What do you do there as a leader?
Yeah, I love those questions. So we live on WhatsApp.
Yeah,
We have a million WhatsApp chats, and so we're broken into little teams,
yeah.
and we communicate with each other on a regular basis, but we
Yeah.
a lot of love. Always send emojis, and sometimes it's just good morning, beautiful people. How's your day going? What was
Yeah.
great about yesterday? We share screenshots of our personal time. Randy and I do volunteer mission work.
Yeah.
And so whenever we're out doing that, we'll take pictures and we'll send it to the corporate chat and say, hey, everybody, we're out here doing this today. And it makes them feel part of that too, because of their work, it allows
Yeah.
us the space. We wouldn't be out there. We wouldn't have the time
Mm.
and energy to
Yeah.
be out helping less fortunate people or, the
Yeah.
other things that we do if they weren't supporting us.
Yeah.
So, and then many of our people, because we attract that kind of
Yeah.
person and that culture, many of them do volunteer work and, all
Mm.
these different things. And so we have a culture where we will share those things, images of, hey, we're out here today, we're doing some disaster relief
Yeah.
today, or we're doing this today. And, and we share those things. And that helps with the culture. We
Yeah.
also regularly shout people out, and
Yes.
when people go above and beyond and was just like, hey, today so and so did this, like, and sometimes it's as simple as how they responded to a message.
Yes.
you
Yes.
know we talk about how how you respond to someone. If someone reaches out to you on the team and asks for something, and you're like, I don't know that so and so's thing, I don't know, I'm not sure,
Yeah.
versus great question, let's figure it out, together. It can be as simple as that. Like, I
Yeah.
love this brainstorming that me and this person did, or that this team member and that team member did. I
Mm.
loved how this team member, who this isn't even their thing, jumped in and helped this other team member.
Yes.
So we create the culture by shouting them out, encouraging them, thanking them, um and we do that on a regular basis. And then we have to, our team members also are all over the world. Everything is
Yeah.
virtual.
Yeah.
So we have to really work at it because we've got different time zones and things like that. And then it really does start with who you hire. We really
Oh,
are very intentional
yeah.
about the people that we hire. There,
Amen. Thank you.
and sometimes you do. Sometimes we get it
Hallelujah.
spot on, and sometimes people just fool you.
Hey,
And
nobody bats a thousand, right? Like, come on.
right. Yeah. Nobody bets 1,000. And it's just getting that right attitude,
Yeah.
and encouraging when we see the
Yeah.
great spirit that a person has, and asking questions when we see a spirit that's not,
Yes.
an energy that's not in alignment with, like, is everything going okay? How can we support? We do try that for a while, but open communication. And as far as what you mentioned about helping, making sure everybody
Yeah.
feels led, but not like micromanaged. We just have accountability. So we have numbers that they need to reach. We have goals that they need to reach, and then we
Mhm.
periodically take a look at that. So Randy and I just look at reports. We just look at that to see where are we on certain things.
Yeah.
And if we're falling behind, we just have the conversation. Hey, how is this particular thing going? What can we do to up these numbers, change these numbers, that type of
Yeah.
thing.
I
And it
mean,
works.
yeah, you know what? I mean, it all you sort of said it. It all starts with hiring the right people. And I mean, this is something that I preach all the time. I work with organizations who are growing to help them. You have to be very clear, not just about the skills and experience, but who you need. Who you
Mhm,
need, what they believe in, what their values are. That's how you get the alignment, right? You've
mhm,
clearly done an exceptional job at that because
mhm.
you find people to work with your business who actually believe in the same values. They hold the same principles. That's
Yes.
absolutely key. And in my, like, for me, that needs to go right at the top of your job description, right?
Mhm.
That's not something you don't bury the lead on that. You put that at the top. This is who
I
you are.
love
This is
that.
who's successful in our, like, you got to start with that because that's what
Mhm,
just that's what gonna attract the right human to you. And
mhm.
then the idea that
Absolutely.
you give them clear accountabilities, clear goals and numbers, right? And then what do we need to do to help you be successful here? I believe that people actually want to do a good job,
Mhm.
right? Call me naive, but I think the vast majority of us, we want to go to work and we want to do meaningful work and we want to deliver on that work. And then we want someone to say to us, hey, you know what? You did a great job today,
Exactly.
right?
I think we're built for that. We're
Yes.
built to work,
Yes.
and to feel good about our work.
Mhm.
I love what you just said. And I love what you said about starting with that. Here's how you can be
100%.
successful in this firm. I love it.
So many okay, seriously, I'll put my soapbox away in a minute, but it's so funny. I look at job postings from time to time, and what I see is they start with all about our business. Here's how much money we made last year. Here's the things we do. Here's the clients we serve. Okay,
Mhm,
that's actually cool. It belongs in a job description.
mhm,
But actually, what you need to do is speak to the human first, just like you would in any kind of marketing. This is
mhm,
just your recruitment brand, right? It's not, it's got to be aligned with your business brand, but it's a little different. This
mhm.
is what, do you love to do these things? Do you believe in the same things we do? Okay, now let's give you more information about the role and who we are. But
Yeah.
honestly, like start with the most important stuff, which is this is what we believe in. This
Mhm.
is how this is how we do work together. That's your culture. Like,
That's it.
don't bury the lead on that. Put it right out there because it'll attract the right person, it'll repel the wrong one, right?
Ah, I love that.
Anyway, so I'll put my soapbox away on that because I see that mistake. It's such an easy thing to fix. The
Yeah.
information's all there. It's just how you organize it. No, but I
Mhm,
think I mean, clearly, and you said you have all contractors, totally virtual all over the world. You
mhm.
can still create a really great culture and nurture that culture, even if you're not all together all the time.
It's so true. Absolutely.
Like it's super possible. I think,
Mhm,
well, I mean, we've seen a lot of the big organizations, you have to be back in the office. We
mhm.
have to be together to collaborate. That is just such BS.
It's not true.
It's super not true. Clearly, you have merged two practices together. You've
Mhm,
created a new brand and a new approach, and you're doing it very successfully. And not I mean, you and your husband are clearly in the same space, but is anybody else?
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, there's one other person who's in our space. Um, I'm trying to think of the closest person after that. No, and there's others who we have had retreats, so we have had people fly in. I
Sure.
mean, we're in Jamaica, so it's easy for people to want to
Well,
come
right. Who doesn't
and
want to go to
visit. Yeah.
Jamaica? Hey, you want to come for
So
a
we've
retreat? When? Sign me up. I can be on the plane this afternoon. Like
we
100%.
will add you to our next retreat.
You
Yeah,
bet.
it's so much fun. It's so
Yeah.
much.
You want to bring
Mhm,
people together because there's magic in that. But you
mhm.
don't have to be together every day to do
All the time. No, you don't.
enjoy each other's company and build a culture that inspires people to performance. You just don't have to
Mhm.
do that. It's just not
Yeah,
necessary.
it's not.
But I really love that. Tell me about co-leading with your husband because that can be a tricky space.
Oh, yeah.
How do you do that? What do you do there to make it work?
Yeah, especially after having been our own business owners for so long.
Right?
So,
You didn't have to
we
share,
we
and
did
now
not
all
have
the
to
boys are in
share.
the same sandbox.
There's right, there's a couple of things that makes it interesting in our case. So, yeah, for one thing, we were on our own for so long, and I think one thing that makes it easier is that even though we always had separate businesses, we always talked about our businesses as partners because we're just partners in
Sure.
everything.
Sure. Yeah.
So we knew each other a little bit about each other's clients, and we knew, about our separate team members, and we knew some things, and we would make big decisions together. Should I take this client on? Is it time to let this one go?
Mhm.
Things like that we would talk about. So that made it a little easier. However, our marriage structure is very old fashioned. We have a Christian, we're Christians, and he makes the final decisions. We are partners, but he is the person. He is the lead. Very old fashioned. I know people are going to drop when they hear that, but but that's our thing. That's what we do. However, in the business, it's completely different. I have final say on the certain parts of the business, and he has final say on the certain parts of the business. So we had to separate that portion. So even
Mm.
though it's one business, when there's different opinions,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
get others' opinions, we get our management team's opinion, and then
yeah,
somebody has to make the final say.
yeah,
Somebody, even in a partnership, somebody has to decide if there's not an agreement. And usually I think how people do it is, oh, if you own 51% or more,
yeah.
then you can go with it. But somebody's got to be that final decision maker. And so for us, we just divided who's going to have the final say on certain things. And
Yeah,
so if it comes to that point where we're deadlocked, we just don't agree on this. I have the final say on certain things and he has the final say. We had to do that
yeah.
because what I didn't want to do is to give up my identity as a founder.
Thank you for
You know
saying
what I'm
that.
saying? I
Yes.
had to keep that, and I was very
Yes.
intentional about that. I was like, "If we do this, it is not gonna run like our marriage." I love how our marriage runs. It suits
Yeah,
us,
yeah, yeah,
but how our businesses run are completely different. And as long as I knew I could keep my identity as a founder, and we trust me, we had those conversations.
yeah,
So if you it is tricky. It is tricky, and I'm glad you asked that. Anytime you're working with family, but especially in a dynamic like that, you
yeah,
can't get lost. You don't want to lose yourself,
100%.
you
Well, and
know?
it's not just, I mean, I've worked with family businesses, had
Mhm.
had had family businesses on the show, but this isn't just family. You sleep with this man every night. Like,
That's
that is
right.
a whole nother
That's a whole
level
other thing.
of how do we work in business together, and
Yeah.
then, like, yeah, so
Mhm.
that's why I asked, because I was deeply
Mhm.
curious about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I gotta say, I really appreciate that you're very articulate about, I didn't wanna lose my identity. I'm still a
Mhm.
founder, and, you had grown something very successful on your own, made
Yes.
a very
Mhm.
intentional, deliberate decision to combine with your husband, and
Yeah.
you needed to still own that part, and I love that. I think,
Yeah.
whether we're going into partnership with someone else altogether or whatever, but it's so easy to lose your identity as the business.
Yes.
It becomes like this whole monstrosity,
Mhm.
and even easier than when you're combining your business with someone else's. Like, it's a slippery slope.
It's so tricky. I've had people ask me since we merged, like, it's not even a family member, but just even
Yeah.
another person.
Yes.
Our businesses are part of our identity. Like
Yeah.
we hold them so dear, and it can be a beautiful thing, and it can be a disaster.
It
You have to
100%.
really be careful.
Well,
Mhm.
and little shameless plug here, but this is why having some coaching as a leader in your business, and for so many business owners, it takes a long time for us to recognize that we're actually leaders. But
Yes.
as your business grows and evolve, as your team grows and evolves, your leadership needs to grow and evolve. You cannot have a high performing team if you are not a high performing leader, and that next level of leadership does require very intentional coaching and practice and deep self reflection. Who
Yeah.
do I need to be at this next level so I can show up and lead in the way that is ultimately fueling that vision and that legacy you talked about right from the beginning?
I love that you said that. Please, I'm glad you did the plug because it's so important what you just
It's
said.
crucial.
That was such a soundbite. I want to make sure we capture that. It's really important. You need that. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you've been in business for a while and you are a leader, you feel like, well, I've done that part. I really don't need consulting and coaching anymore. Not true. You
Mhm.
always will need it. And
Mhm.
especially when you're moving to next levels. So
Mhm.
that again, it's why what you do is so important. You need that person that can help you at this point where you are take that next step.
Yep. It's
Mhm.
I see it. I really see it, and I see, you've you have made that next step so beautifully. But I see it a lot with business owners that do get stuck in the weeds. They do get stuck in the transactional bits. They get stuck micromanaging. Because we do love our businesses
Mhm.
so very much. We've put
Yeah.
so much of ourselves into them,
Mhm.
but at every next level, we have to remove ourselves just a little bit so the business can be effective. So we can enable the smart people that we work with, right?
That's right.
And that's work we have to do in
Mhm.
order to get out of the way. And I see that. I see female business owners in particular bottlenecking their businesses because they cannot get out of the way. That it makes me sad. Like, it honestly
Yeah.
breaks my heart a little bit.
And it doesn't have to be, and I love that you offer that to get them out of that, because on the other side of that bottleneck is so much peace and prosperity,
Yes.
really. Mhm,
Yes, peace and prosperity. That's the perfect way to articulate it.
mhm.
The freedom that you started the business to get, the flexibility that you wanted when you built the business, that lives on the other side, along with really great joy of watching this thing grow, this beautiful baby, if you want to think about it that way, like watching the baby grow, right? Like, that's what that is.
Mhm.
How did you like, was there a sticky point for you? Like, how did you cross that gap? You've been through this. I mean, there's a couple iterations of this for you, but
It
is
is.
there one that stands out in terms of a sticky one that you had to get through?
When it came to
Well,
what
next
part?
leveling your leadership as
Mm,
your business grew.
mhm. Okay, great question. For me, the sticky, yeah, there's been a couple of sticky ones, but one sticky one that stands out is feeling, understanding that I could not control everything and that I could not be the person who had the final say on every piece. There was a time when I was like, don't send that out until I look at it. Don't say this until I, don't do this. And like I was at every level of approval until it was like,
Wait a minute.
I have to lead. I don't, leading is not being involved.
Yes.
Leading is giving guidance and direction and letting people fly.
Beautifully
Sometimes
said.
that's going to mean a piece of content or an image or something is going to go out that you would not have done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's okay.
And that's
You can
okay.
always use that to say, at a meeting or whenever you're doing your updates, I love this and I love this. This one's a little outside the brand, but
Yeah.
I get where you were
Yeah.
going with it.
Yeah.
But at least it's not what you just said, bottlenecking, because when you feel like you have to be the last word on everything, everything stops at you, and then you can't go on vacation, you can't get sick, you can't do anything because nothing
Yeah.
can move in the business. And that's
No.
not what we want. That's
No.
not a growth oriented business. It
100%.
is, you become an employee of your own of your
Right?
own situation. And so that was the big thing for me, is
Yeah.
letting go and
Yep.
trusting. And I think that was probably the biggest sticky.
I I love that. I love the way you articulated that. And it's true. It's true, right? Like it just the again that we've talked all through this episode about the inflection points. And there is an inflection point as you move towards multiple six into seven figures. You can't touch everything anymore. You
Mhm,
can't. There are not enough hours in the day, there are not days in the week. You cannot touch it all. And
mhm,
so you have to trust, you have to delegate, you have to empower, you have to have the right team underneath that. Like that's I think some of the big deal is you don't know if you have the right people. Renee's done her homework. She knows she's got the right people. But like yeah, it's hard. What's the phrase? And this isn't mine. I don't know who said it, but like letting go is hard, but being free is beautiful. And
Oh, I
that's
love
what you've
that.
I know, isn't that gorgeous?
Mm,
But that's
mhm,
what you've talked about. Just
mhm,
letting go is challenging. It's sticky. It feels crunchy.
mhm.
On the other side of that, as you've said over and over again, is something really beautiful. It's really peaceful. It's really fulfilling and joyful. That's what we're all looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Love
Oh
it.
my gosh. Renee, I could talk to you for 2 more hours. This is
I know.
endless.
We have to do this again.
We absolutely do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have, like, goosebumps from all of this beautiful conversation and all of your wisdom. Thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing today.
Thank you, and thank you for what you do. It's so important for businesses out here. We need to get this freedom that we've talked about, and I just love what you do.
I'm deeply honored. Thank you for saying that. That is my mission, is to help women build these businesses and not lose their marbles in the process, to build beautiful teams and really inspiring cultures that ultimately just fulfill that vision they have. That's what we need. We got to lead that from the front. I love it. So thank you. Thank you so, so very much for being here today.
Thank you. Can't wait to do it again.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I did hosting this conversation. I feel so lucky that I get to connect with such amazing female entrepreneurs. And if you enjoyed today's session, would you do me a big favor? Would you hit subscribe and give this episode a 5-star review? I'd also love it if you would share with your friends. We've got a goal here at the Female Founder Unplugged podcast to impact 1,000 female founders. And with your help, we can really amplify the message. Thanks again for being a part of the show. And don't forget to connect with me at highvoltageleadership.ca. We'll see you next week.